When we talk about what to watch for as things develop, a bunch of numbers are really interesting. I've already outlined that Chinese renminbi at 7 to the dollar, something to watch. The velocity, how rapidly the dollar turns over in the US economy, good number to watch. And how to digest some unemployment figures. These are good numbers to watch. But of course, it's about much more than numbers. The economy as we know it is really all about people, how it serves people. And more, it has to be about that more than anything else. It's simply the value of this or any nation really comes down to the skills of the people. That's what it matters in the end. Their productivity, their happiness, their feelings of wealth, creating genuine wealth. And being able to do that in a sustainable manner is what the future has to be about. But how do we get there? And in the middle of a crisis, it's very difficult to see that. There is no question that a truly open system of markets that everyone has access to and can participate in is going to be of great benefit to the rest of the world. But in the middle of a crisis, it's hard to see that. And we are going to see protests and actions of various kinds developing over the next few months as the crisis deepens, and it will deepen. The problem is simple. If you're hungry, you want somebody to help to take care of that. A democratic government doesn't necessarily feed the bellies in the short term. And a lot of people will say, can't somebody just fix this? We need somebody with the power to go ahead and fix it. This is how people like Hitler rose to power. There was a general feeling of going from one crisis to another, and we want somebody to come in and fix it and blame somebody. And yes, all of those things that come with it. This is the problem with a situation like this. A crisis is a great opportunity for change, but it's also a great opportunity to change in a direction that goes backwards. We're going to see this in Hong Kong very, very quickly. The government of China has said that they're going to clamp down on Hong Kong, and the protests are already starting. Now, nobody is starving in Hong Kong, but we have a situation that the government is going to be forcing themselves on. This is the sort of thing to watch for. But if there are indeed food crises around the world, it's only going to get worse. Now, we often say in the United States that we just don't make anything anymore. You just look at our balance of trade deficit, just look at the numbers. Well, actually, we make quite a lot in the United States. We feed the world. There's no question about that. And for all of our talk about containerized cargo of manufactured goods going across the Pacific or wherever, most of the ships in the world that are carrying goods are carrying them in bulk. Oil is the largest, at least in dollar volume, but in terms of volume, it's food. It just isn't worth very much because we produce so much of it and it goes out to the rest of the planet. And it's great. It's a wonderful thing. The green revolution of Norman Borlaug feeds the world. But it requires stable currencies and the ability to exchange dollars, almost invariably dollars, for food. If countries don't have access to enough dollars or there's some kind of general collapse, there can be a problem. And we've seen this already several times in localized areas, even without this crisis, and it is likely to continue getting worse. We have seen a little bit, unfortunately, in places like Indonesia, but it will continue. And when people are hungry, they're not going to be looking for a great investment in the future or whatever. They're looking to survive to the next day. And this is why authoritarian governments can become popular. There can be protests in favor of democracy here and a counter protest of those who are angry going against them saying, shut up, stop screwing things up, stop spreading the virus, stop making everything worse for everybody else. This is what we really have to watch for is general action that backslides towards an authoritarian world. In part because people, some people anyway, will want that. The process of creating a truly open society requires a deep level of connection, a connection that brought a virus to the entire planet pretty much simultaneously. There is a downside to it. Technology provides some solutions to things, but we have to be able to master it. And we have to do something about those who lose their jobs because everything has become automated. It's not just, oh, everything is getting better all the time. All of the systems and technologies and everything else that we develop are only as good as our ability to use them for good. The various things in our life, this phone, this computers, whatever, are just things. It comes down to what's going on in our head, which is influenced by what's going on in our bellies. The most important thing to watch is how people are coping through all of this, and if their attitude is improving or getting significantly worse. If they favor some long term development, like, my goodness, we have to make sure this never happens again, or there's an immediate crisis that requires an immediate response. That's the key to everything. Now, I hope all the time that things don't break to the point where everybody sees a need for a strong figure to go in and fix it. But they might. And that's my biggest fear. Part of the reason why I want to talk about things in the way I do is not just because I think that we have a great opportunity to make a world that is better, a genuine renaissance, but largely because there is something that is very true in any free democratic society. A problem that we talk about is a problem that we will solve. Sort of like the Y2K problem. If nobody ever talked about it, nobody would have ever fixed it, and it probably would have been a terrible disaster. But we were obsessed with it. There was just a whole industry of updating COBOL code and all that, and nothing happened. It's the simple fact that nothing happened that was important. Now, in the case of this particular virus, it's not as though global pandemic was not foreseen by many people. The George W. Bush administration set up a pandemic advisory board in 2005. We were ready for all of these sorts of things, or so it seemed. The systems that were put in place were not activated very quickly. There was a 6-week delay in China. There were various delays in various developed countries, about a 6-week delay here in the United States. And all of this gave everything time to progress. We weren't ready for it, not because nobody thought of it, but because it wasn't seen as a priority. The information didn't go out into the world. It's one thing to think about it, it's another thing to have it become standard accepted knowledge. If everybody had been talking about a potential pandemic before this, they would have implemented plans much more quickly, right? That's the thing. It's really all about talking about this, debating it, deciding on proper courses of action so that we're ready for things that we know are coming. The world has been changing for 20 years. We have seen the way people work, the way people live, the way everything happens has been changing slowly. Through this crisis, we can see a lot of things changing much more quickly. A slow change should give us time to respond, but we didn't necessarily change appropriately. Technology is always good. More money is always good, right? Everything is always good. No, we had to be more thoughtful about it. Hopefully the crisis will give us a chance to realize the downsides of everything and take care of them. It could, however, go to something where we need a strong man to take care of it right away. Boom, boom, boom. Because, well, the main crisis is always people need to eat. And that's what it really comes down to. So the most important thing to watch is not a bunch of numbers. The most important thing to watch are people. How our attitudes change through all of this. Will they change to be more forward-looking? Or will they change to be more get control over the system? Right now, the Communist Party of China is very interested in gaining more control. It's not going to work well for them. It's not going to work well for anybody. Here in the United States, we have a presidential election. Will people want a strong figure that can just take care of business? Or are we going to have a new generation of leadership that is open to asking questions, being genuinely skeptical, and formulating policies that are based on the best thinking and the best organizing of people, talking to people? Leadership these days is as much about teaching as it is anything else. Will we have leaders that are engaged enough to have the discussion, to have a true Socratic method? When the population asks questions, there is maybe not a direct answer, but there are other questions which can be formulated from it, and a dialogue is created, some kind of Socratic leadership. I don't know. It really comes down to how people respond. The numbers only tell us so much. The economy is not about money. The economy is about people. The wealth of this or any other nation is nothing more than the skills and ambition and attitude of the people that make it up. Whatever we can do to develop that, to truly empower people, to develop what they need to do, the better we all are. And empowerment is a difficult thing. It involves proper information. It involves genuine ability to make decisions. It involves genuine access to the markets that determine how things ever go. So how do we make that happen? That's what it really comes down to, our attitudes. Economics is sociology with a way of keeping score. An economist is going to hate that joke, but it often comes down to that. Political philosophy is usually economic philosophy. How much does anybody understand about economics? And is your understanding based on a system of the past, an industrial model that is kind of falling apart? That's the issue we have at hand. The first thing to worry about are mass protests, mass starvation, people that taking action out of desperation. If we can avoid that, we have a chance. The second thing to keep an eye on is how governments respond in general, how elections are held, or how elections are opened up. But that's what we need to watch more than anything else. The numbers only tell part of the story. In fact, they don't really tell anything important. It comes down to what direction we as a people together want to do, or want to go, what you think is important. And the more we can talk and talk about real issues, talk about the future, not just the past, not just get by from one day to the next like a recovering alcoholic, as many of us have had to do through the lockdowns, the more we can actually create a future together. That's what to watch for. Hopefully, it won't take too much in the way of street action unless it's necessary. Hopefully, we can keep the global food networks from breaking. There's signs that they're already in trouble. Hopefully, we can all work together. We can all talk. That's what we need to watch for more than anything else. Thank you.